MediaMonstersUnlimited.com.
Mic check. Media Monsters on deck. Once again, I'd like to thank all my viewers, all my supporters, everyone that has been following Media Monsters. As you know, I do a lot of venues. I travel to a lot of different states. I cover a lot of different things, all the way from local news to fashion shows, parties, all sorts of events. So I'd like to thank everyone once again for always continue to support Media Monsters. This particular show is one of my wrap-up shows. This is 2012, so I'm actually filming maybe just one or two more special shows to wrap up the year, and this is someone that I chose to be on one of my wrap-up shows. He's a longtime friend of mine. He's a professional. He is an entrepreneur. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you DJ MASAI.
What's up, brother?
All right, what's going on?
About time I'm up here.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
And let everybody know, let the audience know who you are, DJ MASAI. You know what I mean? And you know what direction that you're going in right now, because you are a DJ, you are in the entertainment industry, you produce. You do a lot of stuff. Let the viewers know what's going on.
Well, those of you who don't know, who's seeing me for the first time, my name is MASAI, DJ MASAI. Basically, a lot of people over the years got it confused with Messiah, but it's actually pronounced MASAI, M-A-S-A-I. I've been DJing for quite a while. Been in the club since I was 17, and you know, let's just keep it real. Right now, I'm at the age of 40, so. That's some years in the business. That's some years that I've seen clubs open, close, all the legendary clubs that you can think of. I've experienced them, at one level or another. So if you've been partying since the late 80s in New York City, all the way through the 90s, up until now, I've seen your club open, I've seen your club close, I've seen promoters come and go, and I'm still in the game. I'm still in the game pretty strong, bro.
Right, no doubt.
And that's like a God's blessing that I'm still here.
You still have a passion for it. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
So
passion.
Money is never the factor. You do it because you love what you do, your craft.
Right. I mean, I love it. A lot of people, they go to work 9 to 5 and they never really get a chance to figure out what it is that they love in life.
This is true.
You know what I mean? And this is something that since I was young, coming from a singer from the Harlem Boys Choir, All City State Choir, Talent Unlimited, went to School of the Arts in Rochester, New York, to like dance. I worked with Janet, Paul Abdul, CNC Music Factory as a young dude. Yeah, so I seen a lot of backstage stuff. Then I always was a DJ. It's just my platform. I didn't really get into the clubs until I was about 17.
Right.
If you used to party at the Savage back in the days, my boy Don Welch, he put me on. He was one of my mentors back then. Just a little dude coming in the club lying about my age. I was 21.
I remember that era.
And him giving me the opportunity to get on stage and actually perform, and it started back in. I think that was like 89.
So do you remember your first club experience? Do you actually remember that?
Technically, no, I don't.
Okay.
For some reason, like, it's weird. I don't remember the first club, but I remember eras.
Okay.
So there was like a Savage era. There was a Savoy in the Bronx era. I opened up a club called Scandals on 233rd in the Bronx.
Right,
that's where we kind of linked up.
That's where we linked up, right.
Did that for many years. Club International. Then, Black and Gold. Then Gator was born. And did the whole Gator movement. So anyone who's from New York, who's, listening to these names, a few of these names are going to trigger, like, oh, I remember that spot. Oh, I remember those promoters.
Right, because it was an experience.
Yeah, it was an experience.
It was an experience like no other.
From Ivy to Envy to Kilimanjaro's. You're talking about the Red Zone Tunnel, early Tunnel, before Flex. You know what I mean? You're talking about, there's some major clubs that I've played in for years, As far as, the bouncers who are still in the game, they see me, you know, it's like all love because they remember when.
Right.
You know, and you know, New York has changed now. It's a little different.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So this is always a debate for me with
Okay.
with DJs or promoters or just people that actually are partying.
Okay.
What is your perception of a real DJ? Like, because right now it seems like technology, like anybody can DJ. You get Serato, you get a laptop, now you're the hottest DJ out.
Well, let's give people the history. I mean, DJing for me, it started out with 2 turntables and a microphone.
Yes.
You know, people like Hollywood and those cats laid down the foundation for me.
Right.
And when you think about it, you know, your Kool Hercs, your Hollywoods, and you know, there's a lot of DJs I can name, and the list goes on. But basically, if you can rock 2 turntables and a microphone, to me, you're considered a DJ.
Right.
I mean, your blends are important. You can't just, you know, a lot of people cut and scratch. You know, I did that growing up, and you know, you can't cut and scratch in a party while people are dancing.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a few tricks you can do here and there, but your main thing is you want to keep people dancing. You want to make sure that you can blend and that your music makes sense going from one pattern to the next.
Right.
You know, and to me, that's a true DJ. If you can do that, you know, technology today allows you to, you know, download your stuff on computer. I started from vinyl.
Right.
And I went from vinyl to CDs. Then I went from CDs, and now I'm even on the computer.
Right.
You know, you have to keep up with the technology. But to me, a real DJ is someone that understands music, understands genres. You know, if you're in a hip-hop genre, if you're in a house genre, if you're in a reggae, Caribbean genre, you want to make sure that you can blend the music and put it together well where people will stay on the dance floor and you know, and you can really entertain the crowd. You want to have a little mic game. You want to be able to get on the mic without sounding distorted, so people understand what you're saying and get your message across. So that, you know, it's all about the party to me. It's all about the dance floor. And if you can keep a dance floor rocking, you're a DJ.
Right.
You know, and you could be a new DJ. I'm not a hater. Like, there's a lot of guys, you know, now there's Serato's out, which all your music is in, you know, on a hard drive, who decide, hey, I'm going to DJ tomorrow.
Right.
And the reality is, if you're good at it, I'll support you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not a hater. But if you're not really good at it, and you know, a lot of these guys, they just use the computer, they use the sound effects, they don't blend. It's even on radio today.
Right, right,
you know,
absolutely.
Where you hear these DJs on radio, and you're like, what is this? Then you see them in a club, and if they were in a club that I was doing, they would practically get booed.
Right.
But because of the standards that New York and certain, you know, party goers, the standards are not high anymore. The expectations aren't high, you know. So it's really weird. It's really weird. Like, but you know, I'm still in the game.
Right.
A lot of guys I know, you know, did it, and they're gone. They, you know, they're doing regular 9-to-5s. They don't really have the love for it anymore. And, and I don't know. Music is my life, bro.
Right. And now I remember actually like helping you out, you know what I mean, rolling with you to a lot of venues, a lot of major clubs, and man, we had like what, 12, 15 crates?
Yeah, I mean,
it went from crates to the actual metal metal cases.
Right, we went from milk carton crates that you would see the milk come in to these metal cases. I think on the average it was 15 or 16 of those when we ended. And if you ever been to the Roxy's, it's like steep stairs, and that's like probably 3 flights, and carrying those crates. I mean, at the beginning of the party, I always had a crew. At the end of the party,
everybody is
people didn't want to disappear. You know, they didn't want to get those crates back to the car. You know? And we didn't have cars. I had a van. Like, we couldn't hold that stuff in anything else but a van. So I mean, and you know, this guy here, Rhythm, he's been down from the beginning. You know, when it really got hot. I met this brother pretty much in Jacob Javits.
Right, yeah. Tell people about
Jacob
that story.
Javits. It was kind of weird because there was a young lady that was a friend of his. She was also a friend of mine, coming from the dance world, which was so weird. And she was like, hey, you know, I want you to meet someone. He's in here, he's a designer. And I said, hey, you know, well, let's see him. And when I met him, it was kind of weird because we both had locks, we were both brown skin, similar height, and it was a little weird. Like, okay, who's this brother? I never met him before, and come find out we partied in the same clubs back in the days, the Sound Factory, and you know, we kind of come from the same niche.
Right.
You know
And
what I mean? And the weird thing is he had this logo.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's see if you can.
This is my logo,
Yeah,
and I don't know if you know what his original logo looks like, but I had a logo that represented me, which was a mask.
Yeah, it's very similar. My logo was very similar to his logo.
So I showed him my logo. He's like, hey, look at my logo. And we're meeting each other for the first time, and we're like, hey, you know, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting ready to open up this club. You're a young designer, you know, why don't you, you know, come through and you can have a vending space.
Right.
And that's kind of where it started. He started coming through Club Scandals in the Bronx. We had a live broadcast on, at the time, Hot 97 with Bugsy.
Right.
That's before Bugsy went over to Kiss, which now doesn't exist. Now he's at BLS.
Right.
You know, and it kind of launched things for me. And, you know, as a promoter, as a DJ, as someone working on my craft, I believe it was structured at that club.
Right, because actually that was grind time, because I remember actually coming from White Plains to what, 233rd, taking the train, and I had to put all my stuff in a closed cart. Whether it was snowing, raining, I remember rolling. Sometimes he might bring me back to White Plains. Most of the time, he did bring me back to White Plains. But see, and why I'm bringing that up, people, is there's a lot of history and there's a lot of work and grind behind everybody's story. You know what I mean? And that's just the gist of it. I mean, we got stories for days.
Oh, believe me, it wasn't easy. I remember when we first opened up Scandals, it had it was called Silk Stockings.
Right, Silk Stockings.
And they had sort of like a male review club, you know, and it had, you know, some bad publicity. And basically, there was a church across the street that was protesting.
Right, they didn't want.
And we were young.
Club in the community.
We were young, like 19, 20, you know. And I remember approaching the owner, you know, saying to him, "Hey, why don't you just open up a nightclub?" And he's like, "Oh no, I don't. You know, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do." And I said, "Okay." And I left my card with that logo, you know.
Right.
And like maybe 3 weeks later, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, you know, let's try it." And I think he let us open up on a Wednesday.
Right. We started in the middle of the week, Wednesday, so
week.
Off day.
He didn't want us there on the weekends. He had his regular drinking crowd, and you know, we packed that Wednesday.
Right. Guess what? Right. Exactly.
We packed that Wednesday, and
packed
people,
that Wednesday.
Like a lot of my personal friends were like, "Oh, don't touch that spot. Don't do it. It'll never work out." You know, and basically, I'm telling this story to say, if you have a vision and you have dreams and aspects of where you want to be in life, it doesn't really matter, like, what anyone says, because if it's in your heart, hey, do it.
That's right.
Try it. And I tried it, and that club went for like 4 years.
4 years
you
strong.
know, we went from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We wound up taking over the whole club.
And one thing I must say about that club and that era of music, and we're going to elaborate on this right now, is that we danced.
Yeah.
The females left with their hair did.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they came with their hair did, and their hair was sweated out.
Right.
At the end of the night.
Yeah.
Those were real parties.
To be honest, it's funny you say that, because I look at today compared to then. Now, I don't do any regular clubs. There's some regular clubs I'm getting ready to lock down now.
Right.
Back in the city, you know, Thursday after work, Friday after work, and you know, but my business is mainly promoters book me for different occasions. So I'm in different cities, and you know, I'm in different states. You know, sometimes in and out of the country. You know, so my weekends are pretty much free to do anything.
Right.
But back then, you know, it's funny you say that. Back then, women would really come to the clubs, and they would have their makeup done, their hair done, you know, nice pretty shoes, and they would walk into the club, and on their way out, it was like a transformation. You know, the hair dropped, they were sweating, shoes is in their hand, they got slippers that they pulled out their purse, because the dance floor had a certain energy.
Right.
You know, I still have that energy today at my events.
Yeah.
But I notice when I go out and I see what everyone else is doing, it's more of a loungy feel now.
Right.
Like, people are no longer dancing. Women are no longer sweating.
Right.
Guys are no longer asking women to dance. This whole bottle service done took over the New York scene, and people don't realize how that damages us as a culture of music.
Right.
You know, I don't have nothing against anyone drinking. You know, nice scene, that's what it is. People drink, people party. But when you go to a club today, you can't even sit down at a table unless you're paying $300 for that table and bottle service.
Right.
And what that does is that sets a different bar.
Right.
You know,
right.
What it does is it takes the average working person who normally would go out every week, and he can no longer afford it.
That's right.
So now the people who are dominating the club scene are actually people in other types of businesses, like the drug business. I hate to say it,
right.
but your drug dealers are coming out. Your music industry people are dominating the clubs, and your actors, because those are the only people that can afford to be
those
there.
tabs.
Yeah.
Right.
So and it's crazy because I come from an era where it was about having fun and enjoying yourself and getting your dance on, to now it's profiling.
Right. Even the music. And I love the hip-hop music, don't get me wrong, I love the R&B, but even the music itself basically is a lot different.
It's funny you say that, too.
The music. I think the music controls a lot of what goes on in the clubs and in the parties.
I mean, I love all types of music, but New York was the leaders as far as how to really party. And to be honest, we're no longer the leaders. We're following. We're following, I hate to say it, the down south, the way they do it down south. Down south, years before us, that's what they did. Bottle service, kind of loungy type of events. They didn't really party, kind of just bounced in place, and they had their own vibe. What's happening now is that vibe is now here in New York.
Right.
That vibe is now in LA. You know what I mean? And it's changing the whole dynamics of a nightclub.
Right.
Hip hop used to be universal. When it first came out, our parents were like, "What is this?" And then along the way, you had your rappers like your Rakims, who was speaking knowledge, and KRS-One. Then you had your clowny, rappers, which was like Bismarck, and then your Will Smiths, and all these dudes came out. We can't forget about the beginning, like the Grandmaster Flash and
it was
the Furious Five.
Man. That's right.
It was a movement, but it was pretty much diverse.
Very diverse.
Hip hop originally started over R&B tracks.
Right.
Sampling R&B tracks and funk tracks and putting lyrics to it, which created still a dance vibe. It never changed. So if you had a popular R&B song, which was like Good Times,
right,
it was flipped into a hip hop song, and you still dance, you still moved. And now it's like it's different now. Nothing against the Atlanta sound. I love certain songs, I love certain artists, and I get it. But New York is basically two genres of music. As far as hip hop is now what I call like a down south sound.
Right.
Even your New York artists are doing only a down south sound, which you can only do this.
Do this too, right.
You can't really. What happened to two-stepping? What happened to grabbing a lady and saying, "Hey, you want to dance?"
Right.
And she doesn't have to back it up on you. You can just actually have an innocent dance. Right. It doesn't exist right now. So your hip-hop artists are only talking about two things: money and women.
Women, right.
And drugs.
Right.
So just imagine the youth coming up today. They're not getting what we got.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
They're only tuned into what's happening now.
Right.
And what's happening now is changing the whole party scene.
Right.
And it's amazing, man. I mean, there's a few promoters that I tap my hat to that keep it R&B, hip hop. They might play some of that music, but they still keep a New York vibe here. I mean, this is New York City, and we're losing our vibe. We're losing our groove.
That's right. That's right. And the thing is that I'm just gonna say this. It's like, I have an 8-year-old son. And I mean, unfortunately for me, I can't even listen to the radio. With him in the car, because everything is about booty or
radio's
popping
right
this or whatever. So the thing is that it's like I don't even listen to the radio as much as I used to, because it's the same stuff in rotation. Right. And then it's nothing inspirational.
Right.
You know what I mean? So artists. All your artists out there, whether you're established artists or whether you're artists on the rise, think about that. Think about our young people.
Yeah.
Think about our mature people. You got to be diverse.
Right.
Talk about what you know.
Right.
Talk about your experiences. But music was something much bigger than what it is being portrayed as right now. It was music. Right. It was so diverse. It was, you know, it was three-dimensional. You know, now it's just one way. So another thing that's pretty exciting about you is that you took I wouldn't say a turn, but you actually always had a knack for creativity.
Of course. Yeah.
And from what I understand, you're producing now.
Yeah.
You know, production.
That's a new step in my life. I never thought that it would take me this long to get into it.
Okay.
A few years back, you know, I had a little keyboard, and you know, I'm also a music major. I'm a music vocal major in high school.
Yes.
So it was always in me, but lately, actually, it started with an artist named Wam Ease.
Wam Ease.
Yeah, Wam Ease. He was signed to.
Yeah, this is Wam Ease right here, people.
To Top 10.
Right, Wam Ease right here. Shout out to Wam Ease.
Yeah, he was signed to Top 10 and was a management company back then, and this was like the early '90s. And he had a record deal and was part of a group called Indigo.
Right. And
he's a childhood friend since I was 3 years old, and we're like brothers. But that deal didn't go through, you know, due to certain things in his life,
right,
making wrong decisions. He had to go away for a while, and you know, he went away. And when he came back, he still wanted to do the music stuff.
Right.
And he noticed I was still DJing. He's like, "Yeah, I can't believe you're still doing it. We're going now." And he's like, "Wow, this is amazing that this long you're still in the game as hard as you were back then."
Right.
And he said to me, you know, he still was interested in doing the music, and I'm like, yo, at the time I was like, you're 38.
Right.
What do you mean you want to rap? Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
But he pushed me. He said, hey man, I think we could do this. You know how to do music. He's like, I'm tired of going to all these producers and they're holding my music, or they'll do a beat for me, and then when I'm ready to do something with it, they'll sell it to someone. And he was tired of that, so he influenced me. Yeah, he influenced me to learn Pro Tools and Reasons and some of the programs I started with, and to do music. And surprisingly, hits.
Right. Now your stuff, your music is amazing.
Right.
And what you're doing is, and you get it, is you can't produce the sound that we have now.
Right.
You have to create your own sound.
Right.
And produce something that is going to be the next sound or the future. And I think that's what a lot of producers and a lot of people get the misconception, that they're just copying what's hot right now.
Doing. Yeah, you know, a lot of labels and a lot of producers, they actually do that. Hey, Lady Gaga's out, we need to get a Lady Gaga. No, you don't need a Lady Gaga. You need whatever the artist is that you should be creating. You know, what I did is I listened to his flow, and because of our age, I said, you know what, let's not do this, let's not do that. Let's just find a sound that works for you, you know, that people in our genre, our age group would appreciate, and then people in the younger generation will say, yo, hey, that's hot, that's different.
Right.
You know, and then it started with him, and I reached out to, you know, a young lady out of Virginia, Letitia Starr. What's up, Letitia?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's on deck. We're finishing up her project. I reached out to a Brian Terrell Clark. He's also an actor. He writes for Mary J. Blige. You know, he wrote, I think the song is called Irresistible.
Okay.
On the last album of Mary. You know, he's on deck. I'm finishing up his album. I ran into a sister by the name of Shane Takora. I'm working on her project. And, you know, there's a few other people I'm sitting down with, but basically the music is pouring out of me.
Right.
And it's got to be God, because I didn't think I had it, and it's, you know, I'm not sampling, I'm playing keyboard, I'm playing guitar, you know, I'm playing the drums, I'm playing bongos, I'm beatboxing. You
actually disappeared for like, what was it, 2 years?
Yeah, 2
grew a beard and everything.
Yeah,
you just didn't even come out.
It was funny. Yeah,
you just didn't come out.
Yeah, I didn't come out.
You were just producing like
as I was
crazy.
working on Omar's project. I mean, Wam Easy, his real name is Omar, but basically as I was working on his project, I kind of went into like a dungeon mode. Right. You know, grew a full beard, and it was crazy. Like, Wam Easy had to actually come over and unplug the computer and say, hey, listen, you gotta get outside.
Right.
I wasn't calling promoters back. I was just focusing on the music.
Right.
And sometimes it can be an addiction.
Yes.
And I think that's what it was. And, you know, I went through a stage with my music that I needed someone to hear it.
Right.
And I would call people 4 o'clock in the morning because I just did a beat, and they're cursing me out because they're trying to sleep and go to work.
Right.
Like, just listen to this beat.
Just called them up excited, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he was one of them.
Yeah, I was one of them.
I was nagging him, Warm Easy. Like, a lot of people just calling him, waking him up. Listen to this beat. And, you know, at first, I know in your head, you probably was like, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Right.
But even I said it to myself. I wasn't sure what I was capable of doing.
Right.
But the music changed and it started to fall in place. And I'm doing jazz. I'm doing R&B. I'm doing reggae.
Right.
I'm doing house.
Right.
You know, I'm doing hip hop. And it's kind of my style. It's not really something you've heard before.
Right.
So, I mean, look forward to that. 2012.
Right.
A lot of artists are going to drop. And, you know,
Right.
hopefully you guys support it and we can add to this thing we call the industry of music.
Right.
We can add something different, you know.
Gotcha.
Hopefully you guys will love it.
So now you're going to release singles, or you're going to do a compilation project, compilation album? Is that something that you're thinking about?
The first project I'm working on is actually a compilation.
Okay.
Our original plan was to do separate albums.
Okay.
But in this game, you gotta have a lot of money to really put behind marketing and promotions. It's a lot of money, you know. So what we decided to do was I pulled a few songs from each artist I'm working with, and I'm actually gonna put out a compilation presented by me.
Okay.
You know, DJ MASAI presents. We're still working on the name. We're still fooling around. We're still fooling around with a few ideas, but the compilation,
that's major.
Yeah, it's not just R&B. It's hip hop. It's jazz. It's house, all balled into one. So it's something like, if you're not in the house, there's something on there for you.
Right.
You know, R&B or hip hop. If you're not into hip hop, there's something there for, you know, for someone else. You know, which they might be into the jazz portion of it. And what we're doing is we're actually shooting a video for every song. Right. The little bit of money that we were able to get up for marketing promotions, we have a major distribution that we're actually closing now. I don't want to speak on it until it's actually solid. Right. But you know, the way these distributions work today, you know, you still have to have money because they're not securing the financial end of the distribution. Right. They're basically
product placement.
Right. What they call physical and digital distribution. Right. And you know, that takes money too. So they're covering that. Right. But you still have to do your videos, your marketing promotions for every city, every state, every country. Right. Absolutely. Remember, this is 2012. This is worldwide. Right. You know. So I mean, we're working.
Yeah, this sounds great. So before we end our show, is there any information you would like to leave our viewers? Website? You're on Twitter,
yeah, definitely.
Facebook, whatever.
Well, I'm actually a late bloomer on Twitter.
I'm not tweeting either, brother. It's too much.
Yeah, it's just a lot of work for me. But I'm getting into that. So I think on Twitter, my Twitter is the original DJ MASAI. My Facebook is DJ MASAI. Okay. And my website is djmasai.com. That's djmasai.com.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So,
excellent.
Yeah, we're out there, man. We're moving. Look out for us.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, you know, we in the fire together, man.
Okay.
But I'm gonna definitely have you come back on the show.
Okay.
Probably introduce some of your artists.
Oh, I would love that.
As well as some of the music.
Definitely.
And yo, once again, yo, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, people. Once again, DJ MASAI on Media Monsters. Peace.
MediaMonstersUnlimited.com